Understand your external customers and how they're using your company's products and services. No matter whether you work in finance, HR, marketing, production or internal audit, try to visit at least one key customer annually, and encourage your team members to do the same. Ask a salesperson to accompany you on one of their regular visits. 80. Choose your words carefully. Why are you crying? I'm only trying to explain how you can do a better job next time. You can so easily get it wrong when speaking with colleagues. You may start out with the best of intentions, but then your choice of words and speaking style comes across wrong and you end up demotivating, upsetting or even angering somebody. You want to help a colleague to better understand a problem she's facing and you're accused of intruding and sounding condescending. You're passionate about a new business solution that your company could provide, but colleagues complain that you're becoming obsessed and too evangelical about the idea. In a meeting, you question a colleague about his idea, intending to help him fine-tune it, but he feels you're not trusting or valuing his contribution. You offer your reasoned critique of a team member's project update, and afterwards she complains that you sounded upset and extremely critical. You ask a colleague a range of questions about why an important deadline has been pushed back and he accuses you of interrogating him. You only make very brief comments when reviewing a team member's work and she becomes angry, claiming that you're not interested in her work. You suggest to your team a number of ways in which they could avoid repeating a big mistake, and, instead of hearing your advice, they feel you're patronizing them and treating them like a child. If you have not yet realized it, people are very sensitive and always liable to jump to conclusions and to assume you have the worst of intentions. Make sure that what you want to say equates with what the other party actually hears, feels and perceives. Put it into action. Know your intention and execute it accordingly before speaking with colleagues. Think about your desired intention and the impact of what you want to say. Then plan how you'll communicate your message so that it's clearly understood without the other party misinterpreting. So, the next time you're planning to point out an error or mistake, avoid sounding too harsh, critical and personal when addressing those who may be at fault. Describe or clarify something. Be careful not to speak for too long and risk boring everybody or saying so little that nobody can understand you. Explore and better understand something. Be measured in the number and form of questions you ask someone to avoid sounding like an interrogator who is not trusting what they're being told. Give someone feedback or opinion of their work. If you only say a few words, they may think that you're uninterested or not respecting them. Share alternative opinions and views. If you do so too strongly or emphatically, they might think you're personally attacking a colleague, and not just challenging their opinion. Ask what the other party is hearing and feeling. Observe yourself as you speak, pausing as soon as you realize that you may be becoming too strong or extreme with your words. Ask the other party how they're feeling and apologize when you fear your style of conversation might be unintentionally overstepping the mark and causing upset. It isn't my intention to be critical or harsh, and I do hope you're not beginning to feel upset. I realize that I have been firing lots of questions at you, and I hope you don't feel that I am interrogating or over-challenging you. I apologize if I gave you that impression. 81. Motivate to retain your talent. One poorly thought through request or action can demotivate an entire team. It takes great skill to be a leader who is able to create and maintain a work environment where staff come to work each morning motivated and with a positive mindset. It takes effort maintaining a team's motivation because each of us can become upset and demotivated for any number of reasons. Losing out on a promotion we feel we deserve, being ignored by our boss who shows favoritism to other colleagues, failing to be given a salary increase despite being promised one, not being given the recognition for completing a project on time, working over the weekend without any compensation, spending time working under a negative and cold boss, finding that the work has become repetitive and monotonous. The impact of having demotivated team members can be costly to you and your business. They may come to work but lack the interest and energy to fully contribute. They will take less initiative, no longer speak up, collaborate less, and may behave negatively. Such behaviors are toxic and contagious, quickly turning a positive and productive working environment into an unhealthy one. They might resign, and you must cope with both the loss of their knowledge and experience as well as needing to spend time finding, training and bringing their replacements up to speed. Your reputation might suffer if your demotivated staff give you low scores in any employee engagement survey or in your annual 360-degree feedback. In addition, in their exit interviews, Your resigning staff may speak harshly of you, and their departure will worsen your talent retention statistics. Put it into action. Help your staff fulfill their basic needs. Each of us has 7 basic needs which, if fulfilled, can leave us highly motivated and engaged. Your task as a leader is to ensure that what you say and do is always helping your team meet these needs. 1. Need to be valued. Always acknowledge your staff and thank them for their work and contribution. 2. Need to have variety. Your staff will rarely want to do the same monotonous work each day and will become easily bored. Whenever possible, give them variety, such as giving them ad hoc tasks, project responsibilities, opportunities to travel or to swap their job roles with others. 3. Need to grow. Invest your time in helping your staff to grow in terms of exposure, responsibilities, experience, skill set, and so on. 4. Need to connect with others. Create a very collaborative work environment where staff are encouraged to interact, help and support each other. Support having social activities including team dinners, family outings and sports events. 5. Need to contribute. Help your team understand how their work fits into the bigger picture of your company's purpose, vision, and goals. 6. Need to have certainty. Your staff need to know what is happening and what they have to do, and will dislike the unexpected. Always communicate plans and openly share information about any upcoming changes. 7. Need to leave a legacy. Help each of your team to find meaning in their work and to take pride in what they accomplish and create. 82. Always understand the numbers. All leadership issues involve numbers in one way or another. Be careful if your financial knowledge is really basic and you want a long and successful leadership career. These two things are mutually exclusive because all leadership roles involve money in one way or another. Many of your leadership responsibilities will be finance-related and include cost centers to manage, which involve being responsible for a range of expenditures, financial budgets to create and to compare your department's or business's actual revenues. Expenses and capital expenditures against business and strategic plans to create and execute, agreeing pricing and other financial terms with your clients, financial investments to make in property, working capital and new product developments, financial accounts to be audited, which you may need to review, approve and or sign off on, hiring new staff and agreeing their remuneration, signing up new suppliers and negotiating terms of any contracts. You risk making poor decisions and mistakes if you don't understand the financial impacts and consequences of your actions. Successful leaders know this and build up enough financial knowledge to succeed in their roles and to avoid mistakes such as being financially cheated and taken advantage of by being overcharged for work provided or having your staff cheat on their expenses. Agreeing badly calculated pricing with clients or suppliers that may result in financial losses for their company, signing off on budgets, forecasts and project plans that have key items missing. Put it into action. Become financially literate. It's time for you to learn the basics of finance and accounting. Luckily, this can be easily achieved through a combination of taking one of the many free basics in finance online courses often referred to as MOOCs, reading books focused on teaching finance to non-finance managers, attending a short finance course at a business school or organized by an accounting certification body such as the UK's Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, CIMA, or the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, AICPA. Ask your finance and accounting-focused colleagues to teach and mentor you. And ask them to help you understand your company's different financial reports and statements. As a minimum, seek to understand profit and loss statements, balance sheets and cash flow statements, key ratios of profitability and capital employed, product costing, pricing and margin calculations, budgeting and forecasting, including how to compare actual versus forecast revenues, expenses and capital expenditure, bank funding and other sources of financing and debt. If already an expert, look beyond the numbers. Perhaps you've studied finance and business at university, qualified as a financial analyst or accountant while working, or have already learned about finance and money earlier in your career. Don't fall into the trap of complacency by either taking your eye off the numbers or doing the opposite and only focusing on them while ignoring the human impact of financial decisions you need to make. Make time and offer to share your knowledge by teaching your non-financial colleagues the essentials of finance. 83. Embrace technology. Don't be a technology-fearing Luddite. New technologies fueled by the internet and high-speed computing are having an effect on every aspect of your work and life as a leader and are very hard to ignore. Thanks to smartphones with apps such as WhatsApp and FaceTime, everybody is contactable 24/7 at no cost. With real-time data analytics, we can know and understand everything that is happening to our businesses as soon as it has occurred. With global social media platforms and analysis of users' behaviors, we can understand all our actual and potential consumers' preferences, tastes and needs. The online storage of business data, including in the form of emails and transactions, between staff, suppliers and customers, creates an environment where everything is in the open and can be tracked and monitored. Evolving automated processes involving advanced software, robotics and artificial intelligence are changing every workplace, from offices and warehouses through to factories and retail outlets. You'll fail as a leader if you hide away from technological changes either by not learning about them or being reluctant to try things out and experiment. Your competitors will be more tech-savvy and will overtake your company, your business model will become slow and antiquated, your consumers will be better served by other suppliers, your staff will feel that their workplace is falling behind the times, you'll lose career opportunities as colleagues start to view you as a dinosaur. You have no choice. Openly and positively embrace evolving technologies. Put it into action. Embrace the cutting edge. Have the clear intention of wanting your organization, your team, as well as yourself, to benefit and gain in this world of fast-changing technologies. Constantly learn about technological innovations, solutions, services and products that may impact and/or be introduced into your organization. Read online articles, talk with technology-fluent colleagues and visit relevant conferences and expos. If you know of other companies that have already taken the plunge and adopted a particular technology, visit them too. Volunteer to be the first to explore and experiment with new ideas, such as when your company is looking for a department head or team leader to trial a new smartphone customer relationship management app, or try out an upgraded version of an online performance management tool. Help your staff face tech disruptions. Positively be a leader who has an optimistic vision about the changes and disruptions brought by new technologies and encourage your team to be interested in new technologies and their impacts. Help them to understand that they must be ready to learn and adapt, and to view any changes as career opportunities. Tough decisions will be necessary. Be prepared for some difficult decisions and actions, such as needing to lay off staff as a result of technology-fueled changes to how the work gets done. Give these staff as much warning time, relearning opportunities and job hunting support as possible. If funds permit, you could arrange for them to be given the services of a career coaching or outplacement firm. You also need to make an extra effort to motivate and engage your remaining team members, who will be shaken by the loss of their colleagues. They may be wondering if and when it will be their turn to see their jobs become automated and phased out. 84. Negotiate your way to success. Be prepared to negotiate with everyone you meet. A successful leader is a skilled negotiator, who must constantly use their negotiation skills to seek alignment and agreement with many different people for all kinds of reasons. Examples include staff over changes to their employee benefits and other proposed changes, clients over pricing disagreements or product quality issues, suppliers over differing delivery dates, a team to agree how a new process is to be implemented. The benefits of being a successful negotiator who is able to reach agreement and alignment with other people can be substantial. These include avoiding tense conflicts and arguments that could cause you to fall out with a client, government department, supplier, shareholder or employee, eliminating wasted time and energy spent in waiting, misunderstanding and arguing, being able to implement plans, ideas and goals, creating higher levels of synergy, trust and engagement, which over time can improve client satisfaction, employee retention and engagement and business performance. Given these benefits, it's no surprise that negotiation skills training is often mandatory for leaders. In my coaching and mentoring work, helping leaders to hone their negotiation skills is a common request. Put it into action. Practice these key negotiation skills. Know your own position. Before communicating with the other party, identify what you wish to achieve, what the range of acceptable outcomes is for you and how flexible you are able and willing to be. Have relevant information to hand to help you explain your arguments, suggestions and points of view, and also to help understand the other side's position. Acknowledge differences. Sometimes it may not be clear to the other person that there's an issue needing to be resolved. It can be very helpful to clearly spell it out, explaining your understanding of the issue at hand. Listen to the other party before you start proposing your solutions. Ask the other side to share what they understand, observe, and hope to achieve. Actively listen to them. Thank them for being open and acknowledge where you're in agreement. Keep discussions and communications healthy. Agree with the other side how you'll discuss and resolve your issue. Try to make it more personal by speaking together face to face rather than relying upon emails or lawyers' letters. Make an effort to build rapport and trust through being as honest and open together as you possibly can. Be willing to walk away if you're not able to reach an acceptable agreement, or so-called negotiated settlement. Decide whether to stop trying to negotiate and simply walk away. If you are willing and able to walk away, determine what the next best outcome is. This is sometimes referred to as the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, BATNA. As an example, if you're trying to hire someone into your team and you fail, your BATNA might be to promote an internal colleague or to second another candidate from a sister company. 85. Resign for your beliefs, if necessary. Better to fail because of what you believe in than succeed at things you don't. Never make the common mistake of staying on in a leadership position when you're repeatedly forced to act in ways that go against your beliefs, ethics, or integrity. You may not know what is important to you until the day you find yourself in a situation where you feel uncomfortable and know something is wrong. This might be when you're expected to play along with your colleagues in deceiving customers by downplaying the health risks of the products that your company produces, pretending that your products contain 100% recycled and biodegradable packaging, repeatedly promising staff salary increases and improved working conditions when you know this won't happen, lying to your auditors about your company's actual invoiced revenues or balance sheet accruals, covering up cases of sexual harassment or racial discrimination occurring within your company. When faced with these kinds of issues, far too many leaders keep quiet, saying things such as, "If I speak up, I will come under peer pressure to shut up and may even be fired. If I leave, people will wonder why I resigned and I may struggle to find a new role. Maybe I am being too demanding and the issue is not so serious after all. I can't rock the boat as I need the salary to pay my mortgage and school fees. All organizations face similar issues, so I may as well stay here." Successful leaders never act in this way, closing one eye to what is happening. They find the courage to speak up and may even resign and move on. For them, whenever their beliefs and ethics are at odds with those of their senior bosses and colleagues, they will never allow fears or job security to allow them to compromise their convictions. Put it into action. Open up and seek advice when confronted with an issue at work that is challenging your convictions. Speak up and talk about it with someone you trust. Try to open up with someone who is not working in the same company to avoid the possibility that they might share your concerns with other colleagues, which would cause you embarrassment. Ask them whether they think you're being reasonable in feeling the way you do about a particular issue. Explore with them how you'll respond in terms of keeping quiet or speaking up, staying on in your role or resigning. Become a whistleblower. If your company has a whistleblowing program where you're able to anonymously bring up issues, you could follow this route to raise your concern about a particular business practice. If this proves futile because your CEO, senior colleagues and/or board of directors don't act upon your tip-off and even try to suppress it, you could choose to talk about the issue with an industry watchdog, ombudsman or regulatory authority. Failing that, you could contact the media. Protect yourself by taking legal advice given the high likelihood that in your employment contract you'll have agreed to some very clear and all-encompassing confidentiality and non-disclosure clauses. Find a new leadership role before resigning if you sense that you may end up resigning over some kind of unacceptable business and ethical practices. Try to plan ahead by finding a new job before you tender your resignation. 86. Smash through ceilings. Never allow others to hold you back just because of who or what you are. A whopping 25% of UK employees have experienced workplace discrimination, according to two 2018 surveys, one by Sky plc and the other by LearnLight. In the US, a 2017 study found that 42% of women have faced workplace discrimination, while another 2017 study discovered that over half of African Americans have faced discrimination in terms of pay and promotions. In Chapter 75, I encouraged you to be a leader who is never biased towards other people, But what happens when you're personally faced with other people's unconscious bias, or even outright discrimination, against you? Discrimination that could risk derailing your leadership career and success? When in a junior job role, you might want to ignore such things, trying not to rock the boat or claiming that it's a one-off. But once in a leadership position, the discrimination may become more obvious and pronounced, and it may be impossible to ignore its effects. For example, being passed over for promotion into a more senior leadership role, not being entrusted with leading a high-profile project, being paid less than other leaders performing similar roles, failing to be shortlisted and interviewed for a leadership position in another company, not being respected and treated as a leader by your colleagues and/or bosses. Put it into action. Value yourself, be yourself, and never hide any aspect of yourself, while always trying to break through any barriers that may be holding back your career. Allow your strengths to come through in your work performance and interactions with colleagues. When you face any type of discrimination or bias, calmly investigate, speak up and talk about it. Ask the others involved to understand, apologize and change. If your bosses and colleagues treat you unequally, challenge them by discussing it. If they don't respond in a fair and authentic way, consider resigning and seeking a healthier working environment. In my coaching work, the areas in which leaders typically feel discriminated unfairly against are regarding remuneration and performance ratings. If you feel you being underpaid based on some aspect of your background, speak with your boss and HR colleagues to seek clarification. Push for remuneration comparable to what leaders in similar roles to yours are earning. If you receive a lower than expected performance rating and evaluation, don't rush to assume it's because of bias or discrimination. It may be. But it could also be a correct rating, and you might be accused of trying to divert attention away from actually being an underperforming leader. Help others break through their own glass ceilings. If you're a leader who is female, from a particular ethnic group, religion or socioeconomic background, or a member of the LGBT community, be a role model. Give lunchtime talks, be a mentor or write in your in-house magazine and openly share about your own career journey and struggles to succeed in spite of being too old, female, Asian, transgender and so on. This may well encourage other colleagues to speak up about their own career ambitions being thwarted by various kinds of bias and of having had to jump through more hoops to arrive at where they are today. 87. Don't ignore the elephant in the room. If you leave the elephant unattended, you might return to find all your furniture is destroyed. Far too many organizations and work environments have problems and issues that are not being addressed. This is often due to people being unwilling to rock the boat, upset people or become immersed in tricky, sensitive issues. Left undiscussed, such issues then fester and grow, which can damage your business performance, working culture, staff morale and even your own credibility. Examples of such elephants in the room include: everyone knows that your boss, the CEO, is a bully and ruthless in how he treats those who don't agree with him. Many talented colleagues have resigned, but no one addresses the issue for fear of upsetting him. Your company's acquisition of a competitor is straining resources and there's no evidence that the forecast cost savings will materialize. Everybody is keeping quiet so as not appear too negative and critical of what was a popular strategic purchase. Many of your management colleagues are worried about your company's recent move to outsource some of the manufacturing and are concerned about the impact on product quality and delivery times. The issue is not being openly spoken about because the entire management had originally agreed to this move. No one is willing to admit they may have been wrong. No matter how uncomfortable, sensitive, sacrosanct or long-running issues may be, successful leaders never leave them brushed under the carpet. They recognize when a topic must be spoken about and resolved, even if this will upset people or create tensions. Put it into action. Search for elephants in any new roles you take on. Keep your eyes open for any issues within your own team and work environment that may have been left untouched by your predecessor, such as: the second in command in your team has been underperforming and should have been fired many months ago. Your team is split into two camps with obvious tensions and poor collaboration that no one has addressed. These topics should be relatively easy for you to tackle, given that you're new and want to establish your leadership credentials and authority. Confirm what is real. Take time to investigate whether the issue is as it appears. Hearsay and gossip may be totally untrue, and you would have wasted your time and credibility in tackling the supposed problem if you'd waded in without checking things out first. Openly acknowledge the problem when you have confirmed the issue is real. Talk about it with colleagues and ask them to share their opinions and feelings. Be mindful that some colleagues may feel guilty for causing the issue in the first place or for not have already brought it up and resolved it. Reassure them that your focus is primarily onto solving the issue, rather than to look back, find fault and apportion blame. Go to the heart of the issue. Make time to fully explore the issue, allowing everyone impacted and involved to speak up and share. Together, agree how to resolve things and move on. There may be situations where you do need to find fault and apportion blame. In such cases, be firm and ready to make the tough calls when you realize that somebody might need to be told off, demoted, or even have their contract terminated. 88. Let go of things you no longer need. Don't be blinded by nostalgia. Clear away that deadwood. Is it time for a spring clean to clear out ideas, people, goals, and processes that are no longer helping you or your business to succeed? This may include staff with unhealthy mindsets who are resistant to your leadership or who constantly speak badly of everyone they work with, plans and goals that have been important for your business in the past but are past their sell-by dates, team members who are not capable of fulfilling their duties and are holding back others who are relying upon them to perform, outdated processes and systems that work but might be slow, liable to break down, or lack the latest functionality and benefits. After many years in leadership positions, you'll hopefully have learned through trial and error to never hold on to anything that is not serving you. But when you're new to leadership, you may lack the experience and confidence to act as quickly as you should. Try to gain this as soon as possible. In addition, knowing that you need to let go of something may be the easy bit. Actually doing the letting go can be the challenge, particularly given our tendency to remain in our comfort zones and not wanting to upset others. Put it into action. Weigh up the pros and cons of updating systems as soon as you become aware of an outdated system, process, or procedure. Talk about this with your colleagues and have someone assess how it might need to be updated or replaced. If it will cost money to change, involve your finance team as well, by asking them to carry out a cost-benefit analysis to judge whether the benefits of changing outweigh the upfront and ongoing costs. Revamp your offices. The same thinking should be applied to buildings such as your offices, warehouses, and plants, as well as to equipment such as company cars and computers. A run-down and dilapidated office with a terrible layout of rooms and workstations may seem too expensive to renovate. It may, though, be worth it. The benefits in terms of improved staff productivity and motivation from working in a more modern and healthier office layout could more than justify the costs of renovation. Never hold on to the wrong people. Stop worrying about upsetting an employee who may not be fitting in and focus instead on following your company's HR processes. Give the individual an opportunity to improve, over an agreed timeframe. If they fail to do so, let them go. Be honest with them and try to be as fair as possible with the terms of their contract termination. Explain to the rest of your team why you have taken the decision to fire their colleague. Most of the time, they will have probably been expecting it and wonder what's taken you so long. Assess the relevance of all ideas and goals in your team meetings and other discussions. Adopt the regular habit of asking colleagues how relevant and valid any of the key assumptions, ways of working, goals, and targets are. Decide together which should be scrapped or changed. 89. There's no time for delay. Don't catch the disease of always putting off what should be done today. When you procrastinate and put off important decisions and tasks for later, you're not only affecting your own productivity and efficiency but also detrimentally impacting your team. In a 2018 study reported in the Journal of Occupational and Organizational Psychology, a team led by 2 University of Exeter academics found that procrastinating managers make their staff frustrated and less committed to their work. Many staff started to exhibit unhealthy behaviors such as taking extra sick leave, being abusive to colleagues, or even stealing office supplies. Far too many leaders delay working on a task, solving a problem, or making a decision for a variety of interconnected reasons. Being busy and distracted by other things that are competing for their time and attention, not being interested or motivated to spend time on that particular issue. Not being in the mood and lacking the drive and push to get started. Assuming it will be easier to do later when the impending deadline will push them to complete the work. Feel it's too complicated or difficult and decide to simply ignore it. Not all procrastination is a bad thing. You might recall in Chapter 52 the benefits for leaders of slowing down to pause, reflect, and make sense of issues and problems facing them. Successful leaders understand the difference between knowing when to take their time with certain issues while also knowing when particular tasks need to be focused on right now. Even if you enjoy procrastinating about urgent work and burning the midnight oil the night before a report is due, remember that your team may not share your last-minute style. If you want to motivate and inspire them, stop procrastinating. Put it into action. Get to the root of your problem. When tempted to delay or put something off, stop and ask yourself if you really want to give in to this urge. It may be hard, particularly if your personality lends itself to procrastination. For example, you're prone to being slow and reflective and to avoiding tasks. You need to overcome any fears holding you back from getting started, such as fear of not doing a good job, struggling, or failing. These might be very deep-seated habits, but you can change them with some focus, willpower, and determination. If you find it really difficult, find a therapist or coach who can help change these patterns of behavior using a well-known process called cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. You can complete this in a few weeks or months, through a series of one-on-one conversations. Brush up your to-do list and eliminate distractions to help change your procrastination habit. At the end of each working day, tick off what you have accomplished on your to-do list and create a fresh or updated version, listing the important tasks to work on tomorrow. The following morning, make sure you work on the activities you have listed. Minimize any distractions that might make it easier for you to procrastinate. What distracts you regularly? Constantly checking your social media or emails, allowing people to constantly interrupt you, spending too much time in unproductive meetings? But thinking is not procrastination? Remember to occasionally make time to stop what you're doing and to reflect and consider how you'll deal with your many leadership issues. This might appear to others as if you're procrastinating, but you know that this is not the case. 90. Prepare for the impossible. Beware of writing off the improbable as being impossible. Just because something has never happened does not mean it never will. Recent history is stuffed with highly improbable events actually occurring that have shaken and even destroyed businesses and their leaders' careers. Companies such as Enron, Kodak, Carillion, Lehman Brothers, and Jamie Oliver's restaurants hitting the wall and going bankrupt overnight. If these were a key supplier or client, their closure could have been devastating to your own business. Natural disasters such as forest fires, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and hurricanes, which can have devastating impacts such as widespread loss of life, destroying communities, stopping production, closing airports, and cutting off communications. Events that can cause your own business major difficulties. Each of these events may be unexpected, but they do seem to be happening with increasing regularity. Successful leaders recognize this and are learning to prepare and plan for these black swan events, named after the discovery that not all swans are white, which was something deemed impossible until Europeans saw one when they first landed in Australia. Put it into action. Stop being taken by surprise. Accept that the impossible happens and, in some cases, is becoming commonplace. Start being proactive to understand what may occur by carrying out what-if analyses. This involves exploring highly improbable but possible scenarios of events that could have a catastrophic impact on your business, such as: how would you cope with your main raw material supplier closing down? What could you do if your main export markets become closed due to a military coup or major earthquake? How would we adjust if the government changed hands and all of our tax incentives were cancelled? How do we continue serving our clients if our main factory were totally flooded by the nearby river? For each possible event, map out how you would help your company to not just survive but thrive. Get actively involved in risk management. Implement necessary measures to minimize the potential impact of any black swan event. You could think about diversifying your production locations, supplier base, or even client base. Make sure that your business has sufficient insurance coverage for any possible disruptions to your business. Consider having key man insurance for the possibility that you or other key leaders die or become incapacitated. You could even introduce a rule that the leadership team and yourself must never fly on the same flight together to avoid a 1 in a million chance that you all lose your lives at the same time. 91. Lead remote teams carefully. The saying, out of sight, out of mind, has a lot of truth to it when leading people. Your leadership skills will be tested the day you're given a globally dispersed team to manage and you no longer have your team sitting happily within earshot of your office door. Having team members in different parts of the country, or even spread over many continents, presents you with a unique set of challenges. You can't just sit down with them for a coffee whenever there's something to discuss or if you simply want to catch up. You may have team members living in different time zones, reducing the number of hours that both of your working days will overlap. If you're in London and have staff in Hong Kong and San Francisco, you need to fit in early morning calls with those in Asia and late afternoon calls with those in the States. For much of your own working day, you need to get used to the fact that much of your team will be at home asleep. You can't pass by their workstations sensing how they are and what they're working on. Instead, you need to manage them while only seeing them on video conference screens or listening to them on the phone. Any remotely located staff may feel neglected and forgotten, particularly if you rarely travel to their location and they rarely visit you. As a result, they may easily become demotivated and disengaged. If they report to you as well as to a locally based line manager, you may find that your influence is diminished compared to the local manager who probably has a regular face-to-face relationship with them. Successfully leading remotely located staff involves acknowledging and overcoming these challenges. To do so, you'll need to change your approach to your day-to-day role of connecting and working with your team. Put it into action. Select remote staff carefully. If you get to choose who in your team will be remotely located, select somebody with the ideal mindset, comfortable working alone and independently, and someone self-driven who won't need constant support and confirmation they're doing the right thing. The ideal candidate is someone who has already worked alongside you so that you both already understand each other's working styles and personalities. Give them special care and attention. Remote staff need extra care and attention. You can't simply treat them exactly the same way as staff based in your own office. You need to try harder to make them feel valued and equal members of your team. Call them on the spur of the moment to ask how things are and just to chat, ideally via a video call so that you can see each other. By doing so, you're trying to mimic the casual and informal connecting that happens in your office when you pass by someone's workstation or meet them in the corridor. Plan your travels so that you visit their location and also bring them to yours whenever possible. Be careful allowing your finance staff to push you to reduce costs by traveling less. In my experience, the cost of a train or airfare and a few nights in a hotel is more than offset by the motivational and productivity benefits of being face-to-face with one of your remotely located team members. Similarly, support and encourage your other team members to also be in regularly contact with their remote colleagues. When you have an opportunity to create project teams, have mixes of remotely and non-remotely located staff. 92 age is just a number. Imagine having to manage staff 50 years older or younger than you. Today's leader must become expert at leading people of all ages, particularly as for the first time in history there are 5 generations working together at the same time. The oldest generation who were born before 1946, the baby boomers who were born between 1946 and 1964, Generation X born between 1965 and 1976. The millennials, also known as Generation Y, born between 1977 and 1997, the youngest generation born after 1997 and known as Generation Z. With retirement ages rising and people choosing to work in old age, you could conceivably be managing a team of people aged from 20 up to 80. This is like having grandparents working with their grandkids or even great-grandkids, each with very different life experiences and worldviews. Leading such a diverse age range presents you with some interesting opportunities and challenges. When thinking about leading such a diverse age range, we tend to put people into boxes, making broad assumptions such as younger staff hate repetitive tasks, are more agile and impatient for career growth, older staff are stuck in their ways, wiser, reluctant to change and harder to motivate. These assumptions influence how we as leaders recruit, promote, delegate, motivate and work with our colleagues, and also affect how people within a team work and collaborate together. But the evidence shows that our assumptions are wrong. This was confirmed by a 2012 research paper that analyzed 20 relevant studies involving nearly 20,000 people and concluded that any differences in performance or working style were attributable to non-age-related factors and were not the result of our common assumptions. Young people are faster and keener and so on. Successful leaders understand this and focus on the benefits of having different generations working together. Put it into action. Overcome any ingrained generational bias. Adopt an open mind by observing and understanding the mindsets, behaviors and actions of each individual team member. You might be surprised to find any assumptions you had been carrying are just wrong. For example, discovering that some younger staff are wise beyond their years while some of their older colleagues are more adaptable and ambitious than peers half their age. Encourage your colleagues to be equally open-minded and observant. Start by openly talking with your team about their experiences and perceptions of working with people much older or younger than themselves. An anonymous survey may be a good idea to help understand what your team are feeling and experiencing. For example, that younger people don't listen to older ones, or that older colleagues seem slow and not interested. Remove age from the equation. Start ignoring a person's age, or at least treating it as a secondary factor, when making decisions about who is hired, promoted, and what responsibilities and opportunities you give people. Focus instead on their strengths, actual performance, and potential. Treat having multiple generations as an asset. Differences are good, and you should view having different generations within your team in the same way as you do differing personalities, qualifications, or work experiences. Having a mixture is always a good thing. People from different generations will bring unique insights, thinking, and experiences. What one person misses or misunderstands, another might understand very well. Encourage your team to grasp this. 93. Manage your boss. Sometimes the person most in need of your leadership is your own boss. Managing your boss is just as important as managing your own team. This is called leading upwards. This might sound odd, but to be successful you'll often need your boss to understand and support your needs and requests, hear about and be guided by your suggestions and proposals, help you gain needed resources and organizational buy-in, act in a similar way to you to reinforce your own actions. For example, in being firm with a supplier or apologetic to a key client. Support you in an internal conflict or misunderstanding. Give you space or other needed support. To enable these things, you need to lead your boss well to make sure that their expectations, timeframes, actions, and words are optimally aligned with yours. This is the same no matter whether your boss is a line manager, a global CEO, or chairperson of your board of directors. If your boss is very senior, elusive, or hard to approach, you might feel uncomfortable leading upwards, but research shows it's worth the effort. A global 2016 study by McKinsey & Company, which surveyed 1,200 chief marketing officers, concluded that to achieve business success it's 50% more important to manage upwards, and also, horizontally, manage your peers, than it is to manage your own team. This correlates with the leaders I coach, many of whom realize that they need to manage their bosses even better than they are doing in order to achieve their own goals and KPIs. Put it into action. Led in a non-directive way, your boss may not take kindly to being told what to do because they're more senior and don't have to listen to your requests. If you're too demanding and directive, you risk them viewing you as arrogant and disrespectful. The solution is to lead them indirectly through a combination of understanding your boss really well, including knowing when they're receptive to suggestions and knowing what motivates and drives them, using your skills of influencing and convincing to have them agree to something that they might ordinarily be inclined to reject, warming them up over time to your ideas as opposed to simply asking them point blank to agree with your thinking, making them feel that your ideas were actually their own. If all else fails, you may need to be firm and strong, but only do this when you're sure you have all your arguments and facts in order. Choose your moments wisely with your own team members. You're free to direct, guide, and delegate to them as frequently as you wish. This is obviously not the case with your boss. Be highly selective about your boss's expectations, understanding, and actions. Manage horizontally with your peers. Avoid being too persistent, pushy, and demanding. Unlike your boss, your colleagues are less likely to disagree with you directly. They may instead complain about you behind your back. 94. Never blatantly show off. It's not about blowing your own trumpet. No matter how successful you are, avoid bragging, praising, and shouting about your good fortune. No one is interested or impressed except you, and praising yourself produces no gain except to send a message of, "Look at me. I am really great." Sadly, too many leaders can't stop themselves, partly because they have ambitious, arrogant, and cocky A-type personalities, and also because they're so used to being right and coming out on top. When I coach such leaders, I realize that they're addicted to wanting the limelight and tend to think that being quiet and humble is a weakness. This is especially so among male leaders, who also seem to more easily get away with showing off than do their female counterparts. With men, we typically view their bragging as showing confidence, while for women the same level of showing off is often labeled as arrogant, reflecting our subconscious expectation that women should be more humble and quieter than men. Genuinely successful leaders have learned, often the hard way, that there's no lasting value in being a show-off because success is transient and what goes up may just as easily come down. Seeking the credit and praise is simply a sign of insecurity and lack of wisdom. Bragging does not endear you to your colleagues and won't win you friends. The secret is to find the ideal balance between showing confidence versus being humble, while also sharing the successes of you and your team in the best way you can. Put it into action. Don't be on autopilot. Observe yourself. Do you have a pattern of behavior that you're addicted to and needs to change? Perhaps you're guilty of always remaining quiet and humble and never speaking up, or of acting cocky, overconfident and always showing off. Find your happy medium. You need to practice and develop the skill of knowing when to be humble, be confident, or to show off about yourself and/or your team. As a rule of thumb, be quiet and humble when the work of your team and yourself speaks for itself and other people already know what has been achieved, or when the achievement is standard or small. Act confident all the time but without becoming arrogant. You can achieve this by balancing your confidence with moments when you admit you're wrong, don't understand something, or are unsure of what to do. Share about your own successes in an understated and low-key manner and only on a selective basis. It's far better that your boss and your internal clients and colleagues speak highly of your work, enabling you to stay quiet. Share about your team's successes regularly. With your team, you're allowed to show off and sing their praises in order to give them visibility and to motivate them. Your intention, however, should never be to indirectly shine the light on you as their boss. 95. Create an amazing working culture. You are not an island, and it isn't enough to simply focus on becoming an excellent leader. A truly successful leader is one who develops a really positive and healthy working culture. Much like the culture we explored in Chapter 78, a working culture describes the many ways in which colleagues interact, communicate and work together, and the environment that develops as a result. Poor working culture. Outstanding working culture. People are scared to speak up. No one challenges their boss. People rush to criticize others and rarely offer compliments. There's no flexi time or working from home allowed. A strict dress code is enforced. There's an expectation that everyone will work unpaid overtime and take work home at weekends. All staff promotions are based on years of service. People openly communicate. Line managers are approachable and used to being challenged. Colleagues regularly thank and compliment each other. Staff can sometimes work from home and can dress how they wish, except when meeting clients. A lot of effort is invested in creating work-life balance. There's a feeling that hard work is rewarded and job promotions are based on performance. Ensuring a positive working culture can be a daunting task because you're not the only leader in your organization, and each of you may have different views and opinions about what makes a good working culture. One employee might love the working culture while another might find it stifling or depressing. Not everyone values the same things. If a CEO is pushing things in one direction, it can be hard to successfully pull in another. Put it into action. Walk away from a bad working culture. Never remain in an organization that has a horrible working culture that you believe is never going to get better, no matter how hard you might try. Staying on will only demotivate and depress you, and you'll struggle to flourish as a leader. Try to only work in companies where you enjoy the working culture and feel that you can flourish and succeed. Sense that the working culture needs to improve and are confident that, with your help, it can develop into one that is more motivating and inspiring. Audit the working culture. Work with your HR colleagues to conduct annual or biannual employee engagement surveys. Use an online survey for this, which allows staff to anonymously answer a broad array of questions that cover all aspects of the working environment. Analyze the results to help you understand the positive and not so positive aspects of the working culture. In addition, whenever you have an opportunity, have a face-to-face catch-up with your staff and seek their ideas for improvement by asking them, "What do you like and dislike about working here?" The same question can be posed in the exit interviews of staff who have resigned. Make a plan of action. Decide what key changes are required to help turn your working culture into one that everybody will agree is outstanding, positive and highly motivating, and draw up an action plan. Involve your leadership colleagues and bosses in this process, reminding them that as leaders everything that each of you do or say has an impact on the working culture. At least once a month, devote time in a management meeting to review how well you're all doing in role modeling the ideal working culture and working styles. Ask each leader to share success stories to inspire and enthuse each other. 96. Be the real authentic you. Be yourself, no matter what they say. As you draw to the end of this book's 100 lessons, it's time to step up, find your leadership voice and become the unique leader that only you're capable of becoming. No one else is you. With your combination of values, personality, communication style, work experience, strengths, ambitions and dreams. So resist the temptation to take the shortcut of imitating other people such as your role models, bosses and mentors, or to simply apply all of this book's advice without allowing for your own context and needs. Better to struggle or even fail being your authentic self, as a leader, than to copy someone else's leadership vision, goals or style and to become a half version of what you could be. This would be as unsatisfying and unproductive as owning a BMW sports car with a non-BMW engine that came from a second-hand family sedan. You would never be able to drive yourself to your full potential. Successful leaders know that being their true selves ensures that they will be as efficient, effective, energized and inspired as they possibly could be in their leadership roles. Put it into action. Work hard to find your authentic leadership style. To lead as the real and authentic you means becoming comfortable in your own leadership skin and getting over any sense that you're not suitable or worthy of being an outstanding leader. This is the imposter syndrome that we talked about in chapter 53. If you have difficulty in overcoming it, consider seeking the help of a coach or therapist. Becoming the real you also means finding out what works for you and what doesn't. Do this by continually observing yourself and keeping notes about what you realize, such as: if you're not an aggressive and extrovert type of person, think twice before trying to act that way as a leader. If the values of your boss don't resonate with you, don't act as if they are also your own. If you feel it doesn't work to delegate as much work as your staff or boss continually suggest you should, create your own optimal delegation plan. In addition, do learn from mentors, coaches, leaders, books, courses and experts and so on, but never totally imitate what they have done. Take only what seems helpful and carefully apply it to your own unique context and needs. Don't hide your weaknesses. Part of being real and authentic is to discover that you're not perfect and that it's better to be open and transparent about your imperfections and weaknesses. They're as much part of you as your strengths and positive qualities, and to deny the former diminishes who you are. 97. Step down before being pushed. We all have an expiry date. Far too many leaders overstay their welcome and hang onto their positions beyond the period in which they were most effective and impactful. This hanging on can result in their vision, thinking and style turning stale and old-fashioned, becoming stubborn and unwilling to listen, adapt and change. Their support and following declining amongst their colleagues, turning lazy and corrupt in both their thinking and their actions, potential successors giving up, waiting and resigning, the business or company struggling and losing direction. It's understandable that a leader may stay on given that power can be addictive. Leadership positions can be enjoyable and have considerable perks, and reaching a leadership position might be pinnacle of someone's career. There may be nothing else they wish to move on to. In addition, we do value leaders with staying power who remain in their roles through various changes, strategy and budget cycles and so on. There's no magic number or formula to help know when you may have overstayed your welcome, although a 2013 Harvard Business Review reported study calculated that the optimal tenure of a CEO is 4.8 years. This correlates with my own observations that an ideal length for staying in a leadership role is between 3 and 5 years depending on the role's level of seniority. As well as not overstaying, successful leaders also know the importance of leaving on a high when things are going well rather than when they're fired, forced to resign or not reappointed when on a fixed-term contract. Such ignominious departures are common, with well-known examples including the UK's former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, the former head of Nissan, Renault and Mitsubishi Carlos Ghosn, Steve Jobs after his first stint as Apple's CEO, and Uber's former CEO Travis Kalanick. Put it into action. Read the signs. Take an annual reality check to assess whether and for how long you wish to continue in your current role. Ask yourself, to what degree am I still needed and valued by my bosses and colleagues? What will I contribute and create in the year ahead? Am I still feeling keen, energetic and passionate about being in this role? Do I have things I still want to learn and achieve in this role? Are there any danger signs that I need to be aware of that might be a problem for me? E.g., in terms of lacking a sense of direction or becoming stale, or of other people tiring of my style or starting to fall out with me. What other opportunities await me, and is now the time to move on? Talk in confidence with a trusted colleague, friend or executive coach to share your thinking and listen to their opinion. Nobody else can tell you what to do, but they can help you sense check what you're thinking, which should give you the confidence to make your own decision about whether to continue in your role or to plan to resign or retire and move on. Leave gracefully when you have decided to move on. Plan your departure well. Update your CV and quietly job hunt. Only resign once you have secured a new leadership role, because it's so much easier to impress new employers and be offered a new opportunity while you're still employed. Spend time choosing and preparing a successor, helping them to be ready to take over when you leave. This topic is covered in the next chapter. Be willing to work your entire notice period to help the company transition smoothly. However, if you're in a senior or sensitive leadership position, you may be asked to leave immediately. Leave your company positively and later always speak highly of your time there as well as of your bosses and colleagues. 98. Hand over the baton. Only a foolish leader walks away from a position with no one in place to continue the good work. Although most leaders know that succession planning is really important, they rarely do it well. As a result, too many leaders are promoted, resign or retire without having suitably prepared candidates ready to take over. Many of my coaching clients are eager to find and groom potential successors, particularly if they felt underprepared when moving into their current leadership role. Knowing who your successor will be, and having them ready to take over from you, has very clear benefits. You can spend time preparing and involving them in your daily work as well as helping them understand your vision and strategic thinking. Your successor can carry your torch forward in terms of maintaining your working culture, vision, values and strategic direction. The formal handing over of your responsibilities will be straightforward and smooth, rather than in a rush over just a few days. Your staff, and other stakeholders, can be informed and become used to who will replace you. This is more motivating for them than simply learning the name of their new boss on the day of your departure, or having the position vacant while your successor is found. Succession planning can be challenging for a number of reasons. Evaluating people is not easy, and some organizations have weak performance management systems, which makes it harder to objectively choose who may be most suitable. There may be no one suitable, because of poor hiring, training and development, or because a leader has avoided developing someone in order to make themselves indispensable, i.e. having a mentality of, "You can't fire me because I am the only one capable of running the department." Reluctance to inform people they're not potential successors, so that no one candidate is ever singled out and given the needed individual development and exposure. Put it into action. Be okay if a team member is better than you if you have a team member who is capable of replacing you. View this as a positive outcome of your successful leadership. You'll be able to delegate much of your work to this person, which leaves you to be more strategic and reflective, while also having more time to motivate and engage your team and to pick up on issues that may otherwise be neglected. Plan ahead and be objective. Working with your HR colleagues, outline an objective, transparent succession planning process. Ensure that the data from your annual performance appraisal processes is clearly and objectively agreed and recorded, as this will be the basis of your succession planning decisions. In particular, objectively agree with your staff. Their KPIs, goals and performance ratings, their performance and their potential to take on new responsibilities, their motivations, career goals and aspirations. Be open and transparent with the entire team about when your own position may become vacant, your named successor in terms of filling any gaps in their experience, skills and behaviors to enable them to eventually be promoted. Those who may be hoping to be promoted into your role but you know are not ready. Be honest, even if your feedback might upset them. Be careful about having a "may the best man win" mindset and encouraging two or more people to compete against each other. This is a waste of energy, rarely ends well, and can create competing camps within the team. It's much better to choose one as your successor and to develop or find suitable future roles within your organization for the others. 99. Keep leading. Once a leader, always a leader. Successful leaders don't stop leading when they pack up and leave their office for the day. They want to make a difference by bringing their leadership skills to helping lead a charity or local community organization. becoming elected onto the local town or county council, being on the board of governors or board of their children's school, facilitating family issues such as setting up a trust fund, organizing the Scouts or Girl Guides in their town, being appointed as a non-executive director of a local business, becoming active in helping run a local church, mosque or synagogue, sitting on their university alumni association committee, running a residences committee or association. Leaders might take on these paid or pro bono roles in their evenings and weekends, as well as when they have retired from full-time careers. The benefits to you as a leader when you use your leadership skills in these ways are very important, particularly in retirement. Keeping your brain and body active at weekends and in retirement, gaining immense fulfillment and satisfaction in providing pro bono leadership help and seeing the impact of your efforts. Having a renewed sense of purpose and meaning coming from being of value beyond simply the day job you hold, or held. It's now time for you to work out how you can give back and provide leadership within your community during your spare time or retirement. Put it into action if you can help, then help. You may feel tired and drained after a full week in the office and reluctant to put up your hand to be a leader in your weekends. This is totally understandable, but ask yourself whether you're content to do nothing and to simply send your children to a school which faces all kinds of challenges and yet not wish to help by standing for the school board. Attend church or mosque each week aware of the financial issues facing the local parish or Muslim community and simply do nothing to help. Contribute money to a local charity but repeatedly turn down requests to join their board. As a minimum, use your leadership skills to give back in a small way and offer your help on a one-off or ad hoc basis to a local charity to help restructure its governance framework, a church to help carry out a fundraising initiative to be able to build a new clock tower, to teach leadership skills and mentor unemployed young adults for one term at your local community center. Lead in retirement if you're close enough to retiring. Explore how you might use your leadership experience and wisdom once you're no longer in a full-time role. As well as keeping you active and engaged, you may well enjoy the new challenges of leading in totally new working environments and organizations. 100. Leave a sustainable legacy. The true measure of your greatness comes from what is left when you have gone. It's not enough to have simply been a remarkable leader who your former staff fondly remember. You also need to ensure that the positive impact of your leadership remains in place long after you have moved on. In other words, what you create as a leader should be sustainable and ongoing, rather than just a collection of one-off, short-term and momentary successes. Think of yourself as a leader whose primary task is to plant seeds, water and tend to them, helping them grow into saplings. Long after you have gone, these small plants will have grown into towering trees with deep roots. For truly successful leaders, these metaphorical trees include things like creating a meaningful vision and mission statement for your company that will continue to guide your colleagues long after you have left, being an example and role model who leaves such an impact that your behaviors and mindset are emulated and become part of your company's written core values and unwritten working culture, ensuring that your organization has put in place the best practice compliance and ethics guidelines, HR policies and leadership competencies, being strategically alert and courageous enough to push your business into future products, markets, technologies and ways of working, and your legacy is leaving a company that continues to prosper long after its competitors may have gone out of business. Put it into action. Make sure your actions have a positive ongoing impact before doing something. Always consider the short, medium and long-term effects of your actions and choices with the intention that whatever you do is not just for short-term gain but must also be good for the longer term. It might be difficult to precisely know and measure the longer-term impact and longevity of your actions, but you can probably make a good guess and allow this to help determine your choices. As an example, suppose you're contemplating the introduction of a new process or system that would reduce costs this year but would make it harder moving forward for your team to complete their work within the normal working day and then be forced to work unpaid overtime each week. You might decide not to implement the cost-reducing initiative given the ongoing and longer-term impact on your employees' work-life balance and motivation. Whenever you face such dilemmas, ask yourself how you want people to remember you. In this example, the choice is simple, between finding ways to cut costs or for helping your team to feel valued, engaged and motivated. How you answer will determine your legacy. Choose wisely. And finally, be constantly wise, because what you choose to do, think and practice each day is the foundation of the leader you will become. I genuinely hope that the ideas, exercises and suggestions in this book inspire you to action. I hope that by sharing my own leadership experiences and those of leaders I have coached serves as an amazing guide, equipping you with the tools to succeed on your own leadership journey. Build on my 100 things. Do your own discovering, learning, experimenting. Create your own list that works for you as a leader. I would love to keep in touch. Please connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter or Instagram. You can also email me at nigel@silkroadpartnership.com.